if you've literally just joined, I have just shown you the die sets that I'm going to be using today, and we're going to be making these pages and then making an album to put them in. So this is the large ultimate binding die set, and this is the square paper bag die set. So as I said before, this was designed as just a normal paper bag, but I also made sure that when we put the binding set together that it had the right measurements on there, so that we can turn this into a binding, an album to make from those. So my words are all mixed up today as well. Okay, so we're going to be starting off by making the pages. So I'm just going to set those over there while I show you the papers. Now I bought these this week sometime, and they arrived. These are by Craft Consortium, and as you can see, I've already cut into them. These are lovely, like farm sort of like vegetable garden papers, but there's loads in here that don't kind of refer to farms. So we also have the birds and the animals there. Then we have these lovely florals here. I mostly bought it for the florals, and the bunny rabbits is going to make a really lovely Easter paper. And I used to have chickens, so there are some chickens on here that I can use as well. We have some beautiful foiling too, and I love this yellow. I wish there were more plain patterns like this. There's a lot of floral mix, but I like to mix my florals with the plains. And I just love these butterflies here, these straight butterflies all lined up linear. And I'm hoping everyone can hear me okay as well. So here we have some personalised pearl paper with the chickens on there. And yeah, I'm just looking at the chickens. I had one of each. I had a white one like this one, and I can't remember the breed names, but I definitely had one of each of these. And I also had one like this one, and she was black and white as well, with that sort of pattern. I called her Nanny Og. And here we have the more farm themed as well, so if you have any farm pictures, that's going to go well. And here on the front and the back we have some cutouts as well, so you can cut those out. And from the same range you can also get stamp sets and a few different embellishments as well. Okay, so I'm going to have to clear a little bit of space off next to me because I need to die cut the binding. So I'm just making a little bit of space behind me and getting out. I'm going to be using my Gemini today, so hopefully you can see that. I'll push it back off onto the side again, but there's my Gemini. It's right to the left of me there. That side, turn that on if it wants to turn on. Sometimes the plug gets a bit loose on the back. There we go, it's turned on. Right. So you are going to need to cut 8 pages because we're going to be putting this in a hardcover. So it's going to have 8 pages. So I've done 7 here, and you need to die cut another page. So you need to die cut 2 of those. So this is the square bag, and I've cut 2 of those out. So we're going to do some chopping to start off with. So I'm hoping you can see the line. Just checking my screen now. You can just see this line here. This is the first score line here for the base of the bag, and we're going to cut that off. So trim that off with the score line attached to this side. So as you can see, it's literally just hanging on there. So the score line is still there on that side. So we have taken off a slight amount on that side. Let's pop that away. And then we're going to be moving on to the next one, and we're going to chop off this one here. So this card that I have been trimming off, you can actually use these as tags or inserts. So just down, and you can use these in your pockets. So we try not to waste, as you know, the least amount as we can. So now we just need to do our folding. So all the score lines are done. And the pink card that I'm using today, if I can find it, I put it down somewhere. Here it is. This is by Craft Essentials. It's 20 sheets, 225 GSM. So for this one, we're not going to be using these diagonal lines. We're going to be folding it straight over and then carrying on the score line all the way down. There we go. So it should now look like that. So let's do the same on this one, except we have this extra square bit here that is going to create our pocket. And I'm just wondering if my son decides to sing today. He sang for us last week, so just wondering if he's going to do that again. Let's hope, hopefully he'll remember that Mummy's on a live. Okay, so we're now going to glue those together. So I'm just going to look for my glue. Okay, so I'm going to add some glue just along this side up here. And you can use tape as well. So I want the score line to be just about visible as well. And then we're lining up the top section here. At the bottom here, there is going to be a little bit missing from the bottom there because we trimmed that off. And that kind of needs to be up a little bit so that when we fold it all together, this goes round okay. Okay, so turn that over and then add glue to this flap now. And then close that. But now we have something that will look like this, and this is going to fold upwards, and we're going to add glue just along here and along here to make a pocket. But before we do that, I'm going to add some papers. So let's see if I have any offcuts here. Yes, we'll go for this one, I think. And I need to grab my paper trimmer now. So I'm just going to quickly grab my 12-inch. I think it goes bigger than 12 inches, this does. It goes to 13 inches. So we're going to cut this at 7 1/4, but I am going to double check my measurements. It was a while ago since I cut these. Yep, 7 1/4. So we're going to cut that at 7 1/4, and this strip is already the right length, I know that, so that's 3 1/2, and that is going to go on the back. So let's see if we can have this one on the front. That's going to cover up that section, so round about 5 inches down will be good for this one here, and then this one needs to measure 3 3/8. So let's grab another piece of paper. Should we go for maybe that one? I don't think that does go, but I have a lot of yellow already, but we'll just go for it. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so let's glue these on. Actually, I prefer it like that. Let's go for this one here. We can use our favourite paper as many times as we want. Okay, so now we can add glue along here and along here. Just a thin line. And then we can fold that closed and just make sure that it's lined up either side. And now we can add our next piece of paper, which is this one here. So that's 3 1/2 by 3 3/8. and in total you need 8 of these. So you can choose to have either the pockets, or on some of them I have just glued the pocket closed completely and then covered it with a piece of paper. And we'll also be having some inserts. Each page has room there for 2 inserts, so I always forget to mention that bit. So in the top here we have a place there for 2 inserts, which is really cool. So let's quickly do the other side. Let's get this on. So if you have any mini printers will be perfect for printing off small photos. Absolutely perfect for the tiny albums that I like to make. Okay, and now this side here is what is going to go onto the binding, and on this side here we can glue that closed. So I'm just going to go across the top there and then down there, and then keep that closed. Okay, so you should have one side that opens. That is what we're going to be putting the binding on. So I think I switched these around. We're going to have that one at the front. So I just need to make 2 inserts for that, which I'll do at the end. And now we can get on with making the cover and then the binding. So let me just quickly put away this. Now I have my chipboard already cut out and ready, so I'll give you some measurements, but I will make sure that all the measurements will be added down below, and there will be a blog post coming for this one. So for this one here, these 2 are the same, so you need to make 2 of these measuring 4 inches by 7 3/4, and the spine strip needs to be 2 inches by 7 3/4, and I've just taken this page here, so it's the full 12 inches that way, and downwards it is 9 1/2. Sorry if you're looking at there's a bit of glare there. Okay, so I've also added some tie back. I mentioned this in one of my other live videos. This is kind of what indestructible envelopes are made from, and you can cut it, but you can't tear it. It's super strong, so it's perfect for protecting these weak areas here where it folds. So I've just glued a long strip along here, and I've left a gap which is 1/8 of an inch. You can go up to a whole 1/4 inch if you want to, if you're going to be using thick cardstock. As I'm using paper, I just went for the 1 inch, sorry, the 1/8. Okay, so I have some double-sided tape here, and I'm going to just completely cover up the entire section. On the back of the chipboard, I'm just going to grab a craft knife. It's a lot easier with a craft knife. And then we just keep going down. It's a lot easier using something double-sided for getting this all onto the paper or card that you're using. Oop, I've gone a bit wonky there. You just have to hope for the best. I'll turn that over, it might be easier. Much easier. Okay, I'm going to have a little bit of an overlap here, so I'll just trim that off as we get to it. Okay, so this roll of tape is just double-sided tape. I haven't got it in the list down below, but I will add that because that was one of the things that I forgot to add. There's always something I forget to add to the the supply list. Just need to put this away so it doesn't stick to anything. There we go, pop that in the bin. Okay, so now we have a sticky back plastic on the back, so I'm just going to quickly burnish that down, and then these are super easy to get the backings off these, so that's one great thing about this tape. It's super sticky and the backing comes off really easily as well. I don't think it has a brand name. It was quite a generic thing. I thought I'd give it a go. So okay, let's pop this right in at the center. And there we go. Turn it over. So I'm going to have a yellow cover. And there we go. And I'm just going to add some tape now. And I'm just going to go all the way around the edge. So I'm just adding this tape. I'm not going right into the corners there because I'll be chopping the corners off. I'll grab my bone folder and I'm just going to push down all of the tape that I've just added. It's just going to help get the backing off, and it also helps it adhere right to the paper. Okay, so now I'm going to cut the corners, but I'm not going to go right up to the corner on that chipboard. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap, so I'm hoping you can see that there's a little bit of a gap there, just under 1/8 of an inch, and that is going to give us a lovely covered corner instead of it being exposed, so we can get rid of these now. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold these over just to help the paper remember what it's doing, and it does help us when we actually do glue these down. So keep going around, give that a good fold. Okay, right, so those are down now, well not down but folded over. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this backing tape off here, and then what I also like to do is I just like to add a little bit of extra glue on there as well, because in the past I've had a few wrapped album covers that have started to unwrap, so I haven't had any problems since I started using the double-sided tape and the glue. So turn it over, so we're working on the opposite side now. Add some glue. To wrap the corners and to get the really neat corners, we need to flatten this edge here where it overlaps, just there, just to get it flat. Do exactly the same on the other side. And then when we fold this over, we're going to get a really nice neat corner. So let's take that off. And then press that down. The same on the other side. We are going to just press those in. There we go. So here we have the back of our album. I've got a bit of dried glue on there. Okay, so I'm going to take the top of my bone folder now and I'm just going to run it across the top, and that's going to flatten the edge. It's really going to help the paper form a new memory on the fibres, so it kind of knows where it's at, what it's doing, where it's supposed to stay. There we go, so that's all of those done. So now we can cut ourselves a middle strip here. So let's measure that. So that needs to measure 10 inches by 7.5. So let's grab, sorry if that's getting bright, I'll put my hand there. There we go. Did I say 10 by 7.5? I think I did. Let's choose another piece of paper now. What shall we go for? See, I can't use my favourite paper on every single page. I could probably, sorry if that was loud, I could probably try, but we're not going to go OTT. So I think it's 7.5, so I'm going to turn this around, pop that in at 7.5, and then the next one was 10 inches. There we go. Let's pop that away. I'm going to use the bunny rabbits. Even though that's another one of my favourites. We're going to use the bunny rabbits. And then this section here and this section here is a section where when you fold up your album, it's really easy. It would be really easy for the paper that we're going to line it with to kind of lift up and move around. So I'm going to add some more double-sided tape to this section here, just to keep everything in place. It doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as either side of those cracks are covered. I should probably use my squeegee thingy. Okay, so let's take those off. I'm just going to move that aside while I add. I'm just going to use glue for this one. And then I'm going to add glue all the way around. You can use double-sided tape as well instead, or as well as. Just going around the entire perimeter, and then I'm just going to fill the inside section as well. And then I'm just going to press that down. There we go. I just love these colours together, especially with the duck egg blue and the pink together. I like that as a colour combination, and the hint of the yellow there just really gives it that spring look. Okay, so now we can move on to the binding, because I'm going to leave that to dry for a little while. So let me grab the binding die set, wherever I put that. Here it is. So the set comes with 3 pieces. Now this big one here, this is for making this, it's like a spine cover, it's a curved spine cover. Let me just grab something, try not to knock everything down. This is the landscape album, but in portrait and used with the large binding. Now you can use it in landscape with the small binding, but that is out of stock at the moment, so we only have available the large binding. So that is the landscape album turned on its side, and here is the spine here, as you can see. So this was completely made out of cardstock, and but today we don't need to use this one, this die there, because we're going to be adding this into the hard cover. So you need to die cut one of those and 3 of these. So let's just grab the cards we're going to be using. I'm going to stick with the same pink card. It's going to be the same colour as the pages. Okay, where's my tape? I think I put it away. I did, I put it away. I had a really big tidy the other day in my craft room, so it feels so much better actually, having a clear desk. And I've also got this brand new mat as well, so I'm really enjoying the new mat as well. So okay, so one of these and 3 of the thinner ones. So let me grab my mats. And then we can run those through. Right, so we have all of these cut out now. So now we can trim these at the, got my microphone wire there, we don't want to trim that, do we? Right, so we need to trim at 7.5, and if you are looking at all of these funny numbers here, one of these is going to be for the landscape album, and we have a few here extras for albums that don't exist yet, but they will do. So we are going to cut up at the 7.5 notch, and then on the one on the other side, and then we're just gonna cut straight across, and that is the length we need for this album. Doesn't have to be perfectly neat because these are going to be going inside the pages, so you won't see them. Oops, I went the wrong way there. That way. Right, now on this one, 7.5. And then on the last one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this up to 7.5, and I'm just going to get my paper trimmer out because I find that as it's a longer line, I just want to be a bit more accurate with that. There we go. Okay, so now we can get folding. So use your bone folder. So this comes together super fast. And on the smaller binding, that has sold out at the moment, but if you're watching on a replay in a few months time, it may be back in stock by then, so maybe even a few weeks. I need to get a date for when it's going to be back. But it's the same process for the smaller binding as well. And I'm sure there'll be a few people here that already have those as well. So if you have made albums, I'd love for you to share them and tag me on social media. I love to see your makes and different ideas, because sometimes you do inspire me as well. And I think, that looks really good. So sometimes you do inspire me. Okay, so it's going to go together like this. The first one is going to go into the center. So we're going to add some glue just along this flat edge here, and then pop that right in at the center. So this album is going to come together super quick from this stage onwards now. Okay, so we're now going to add the second one in the middle space here. So that's going to go right in the center where this one ends and the score line. So it's going to go like that, and it doesn't matter if some of your marks here are down the bottom. That doesn't matter now because we don't need those marks anymore, and they're going to be hidden inside the pages. Add a bit more glue there to the end. And if you do get a bit of overlap on the top there, you can just trim it down again, just to neaten up the tops and bottoms of it once everything's put together. Okay, so we're going to move back to this board now. I'm going to use my ruler here. I'm just going to add that there while you can do that as well. I don't know why I do that, but in my mind I think it helps. And then we're going to push that up to a 90-degree angle, and then we're going to turn it around and do exactly the same. So don't press so hard that your ruler is going to go through the paper, or you can use a bone folder, or if you have one of these gadget things, I love this, you can do that too. Okay, and there we have the outside cover of our book. I absolutely love that. Some of these actually remind me, which paper was it? What were those books? Can't find I can't find it now. It's the one with the butterflies. Anyway, if I find it, it reminds me of one of the school books, children's books I had when I was younger. One of those read it yourself books, and they had those butterflies and a few animals on the front page. I'm sure some of you might know which ones I mean. Okay, so here is our binding. So we can now add this. This is the same height as the paper, and again there'll be a cutting guide that I'll be updating after the show, but it will be there if you're watching on the replay. Okay, so that is going to go there. So I can see here that there's a little bit of a gap here before the crease, and there's another gap there before the crease. So I'm just going to add glue along the entire back of this. Okay, so I have all of this glue now on there, and now I just want it to be central and straight, because if this goes on wonky, then you're going to end up with all of your pages are going to be wonky. Basically, if this goes on wonky, all of your pages are going to be wonky. So you need to get this one on straight. So take your time with that. And then I also want it quite central as well, with a good gap either side that's quite even. Okay, so I'm happy with that location, and now what I'm doing is I'm just going between all of these little flaps here and just pressing those down. There we go. So that is the binding on the inside of our cover, and I have no lifting in this area and this area here. Hardly any lifting there. It is trying, it really is trying, but because I added the extra adhesive in this area there, it's not being very successful in lifting up. Okay, so we're moving back now to our pages. So here I should have all of my open ends. By open ends I mean the gusset side of the bag. We've glued the other side closed, so I have the opening there, and I'm just checking that they're all in the right order, and then just quickly flick through to make sure that you're happy. These two are the same, so I might just switch a couple of things around. I'm going to switch this one with that one, otherwise it's going to be, these two are the same together, but I'm thinking I'm just going to leave it as it is. So let's flick through this way. See how they go. Yep, happy with that. And then I'm going to turn it this way. So this is the back, this is the front, and I'm going to work my way from the back along to the front. So let's start with the back flap now. This is the back one. I'm going to add glue along this edge and this edge. I'm not going to go in the gusset area that's along the spine, so I'm going up to the score line, and also in this top corner here I'm going to make sure I have a good amount of glue there too, right down to the bottom corner. And then I'm just going to add some more glue just to the other side. You can use double-sided tape as well. It can be a bit more fiddly, so be prepared to have a couple of learning curves by using the tape. Okay, so now we're on the back page, and then what we're going to do is we're going to slide this onto here, just like that, and making sure that it's straight, so there's a good amount here. So we should have 1/8 of an inch at the top and and 1/8 of an inch at the bottom, but I can more or less see that that is straight and everything lines up. So that's the first page done, and then I can press it, and always press it down in a flat position, otherwise it's not going to want to turn. Right, so that's the first page. So do the same on all of these. Okay, so that is our last page added. There we go. Isn't that lovely? So I need to now make some inserts for this. So we have, each page has 2 inserts, and they've slots in where the kind of the paper bag is folded. So they make nice little slots there for extra photo mats or journaling cards. So we're going to make another 2 for those. So let's grab some pink cardstock now. This is also from what's the name? Creative Expressions foundation cards. Oh, that was hard for me to recall. I'm really hoping I sleep well tonight. Okay, so we need to cut this at 7.5 and then 3.5. Just going to double check that because it's the same width as the mat. Yes, 3.5. I am retaining some information. Oop, almost did it at 3 there. Okay, so I have 2. So each page takes, oops, 2 of those. Just bashing things. Have a quick tidy up. Okay, let's move all this back. So I have 2 of those, and I'm going to be using a circle punch. This one is a Stampin' Up one, but any circle punch will do. If you have any of my other album dies, those will have circle tabs in them as well. So some of this punch here will be this is too thick for this punch to go through. But if you want to use a circle die, I would do it before I'd put this together with the papers on it and then run it through the die cutting machine before you obviously add it to the album. And now I'm just going to grab some paper scraps because there were quite a few paper scraps from when I was trimming the paper mats. So I have all of these. So to make each circle tab you need 2. Yep, you can definitely tell that's one of my favourites, and this one too. I've used those quite a bit, and the yellow. Maybe we'll go for this one. Let's have a quick look. I could probably get away with another yellow, so let's do the yellow. That's going to have to go on the right hand side, I'd say. Cut those out, and if you're wondering why I have a HG there, I used to do workshops locally, like craft workshops, so I used to be a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I did Stampin' Up workshops, which I really enjoyed, so I'd love to pick that up again. I'm going to go for that one. I'm choosing the best bits of the paper there, and I'm going to go for those 2. I'm hoping I'm still on screen. There's about a 30-second delay when I'm doing a live, so I'm just going to take these 2 out. So what I'm seeing is what I was doing 30 seconds ago. So how to get all these all perfectly lined up is you start off with 2, and then you add another one on the top, make sure everything's lined up, and then take your circle, add your glue. This is drying up because I forgot to put the lid on, and then line that up with the bottom one. Happy with that. And then take this top section here and then pop that on, and now we can take the next one, do exactly the same. So just lie that there, try and pick that up. Right, so they're all ready, so let's just quickly clean this up. Okay, so now we can pop these in. So these two at the back go in there. So again, you can use these for photo mats, journaling cards, and you can even pop, you know, ephemera in there too. So I need to decide now what I'm going to use this album for, because it's very nice and like spring themed or floral themed. So there's loads of ideas what I can use this for. So let's get the last one in. Come on, in you go. There we go. So there's actually a lot of real estate, photo real estate on there. There's a glob of glue there. Yeah, so there's a lot of photo real estate and loads of space for photos and tuck points. So these bits of squares that we chopped off from the bag assembly, you can trim those down. Let's do that. Make that 3 inches, and then you can pop those in there. And you can even have these cards here. Let's trim that down. Make that 3 inches. This one's a bit taller, so you know, you can just pop that in there as well. You can make lovely photo mats and things. Find another pocket. There we go. And if you have tag dies as well, some of my albums do have some really nice shaped tags as well, so you can really, you know, mix and match some of the things from all of the album dies too. So in some of the album dies, we've really thought about how you would like build an album. Let me see if I can grab a few. I did show a few last week. So this one is the MIDI album die set. So here we have extra flaps and mats and corner pockets too. And here we have the landscape album die set. That's what I used to make this one here. So here we have these. See, these look really small, but they are actually very quite large. And you get the beautiful memory. So there is really a whole kit here that you can make, and you've got these really big pockets here. So this landscape album die set is the additions. So I'm just grabbing the die set that it goes with. Let's move everything aside. So to make this one, you would need the landscape album die set. That's going to do all your base pages and some basic pockets and mats. And then to really jazz it up, you have all of these pockets here and flaps and the lovely leaf details and all the accents and these tags here as well. I love these tags. And this is a really giant sized pocket here. You even get the mats to make, you know, the photo mats too. And that was made using this tiny little die there. This is 37 dies in that one. So this is the landscape editions. Just quickly show you. Look at all that metal. There's absolutely loads in there, and it's at a really good price point too. So the amount of dies that you get in there, it's really good value for money. So that's the landscape album, and also you'll be needing the large ultimate binding as well to make this album there. So for today's project you will only need the large one, the square and the square. And if you have any of the other die sets, all these elements here like this tab as well, and these ornate squares, the label squares, and some of these pockets are going to fit inside the smaller album as well. Okay, so I'm going to go now, have a good tidy up, and thank you everyone for joining in today. It really does mean so much, like when everyone shows up and chats to each other and asks questions and everything. And I can see lots of love hearts as well. I love those. So thank you everyone for joining today, and hopefully I do feel better soon. So I will see you all again very soon. Bye everyone.